bringing you the latest news from Lubbock High Athletics. This is the Westerner Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 FM on Tuesday night. We're going to jump into the Westerner Fan Zone in just a minute here. I'm going to run through the radio schedule real quick for this week because it's a busy week. These guys are the only team that's not playing this week, and I bet Juan Rodriguez down there is ready to kind of exhale over that. But there is a lot of football going on. Thursday night, Lubbock Cooper's got a rare home game on a Thursday night. They host Plainview to start District 2-5A Division II play. That is right here on 100.7 The Score. Let me double check that to make sure. Got it right here, yeah. 100.7 The Score. Pregame at 6:30. Friday night, very busy night. We just talked to the Monterey folks. They are at home against Amarillo High on 93.7 The Eagle. Liberty plays their first ever home game Friday night against Fort Stockton. 93.1 Yes FM, 6:30 p.m. kickoff. Idalou and Shallowater renew their Lubbock County rivalry. And I'm not sure where that game's at. I think it's up at Shallowater. Sunny 97.7 FM. And then Friendship is on the road at Midland Christian. That is on Double T 97.3 FM, pregame at 6:30. And, of course, afterwards, Friday night, on the Friday Night Live scoreboard show on Double T 97.3 FM. Supposed to be from 10 p.m. to midnight. Sometimes Friendship's games last a little bit long. They have to slide that around a little bit. But you'll find us somewhere. That's a great show. I don't know, Juan, I don't know if you ever listen to that when your games are done. Those guys, they collect scores and updates and reports on games from all over. It's pretty magical how they get all that information. And right. I don't know if when you were in Corpus, if they had something like that,
They did. They had somebody that just kind of updated everybody on the live scores, as they were coming in. And, back in the day, that's how we used to do things. Now it's apps and stuff, but that's how you would get most of the information was through radio.
You're preaching to an old man in the choir here, because when I was at the AJ back in the late 90s, if we were missing a score, if you called the Dairy Queen in town, you usually could get the local score. You don't have to do that now. You can find it in a lot of different places. I still like to call the Dairy Queen every once in a while, just for old times.
Go to Dairy Queen a lot. That's the truth.
I passed one on the way in. I thought about it.
Me too, twice.
Welcome in, Juan Rodriguez.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk a little bit about a pretty cool thing last week that your team did, but I want you to introduce your two partners here with you tonight.
Well, I've got one of our outside linebackers and seniors, Bryson Garza. He's been with us for 3 years, and our newly established defensive coordinator, Mr. Caden Fregia.
You guys better raise your hands because Bryson actually looks older than your defensive coordinator.
Yeah, Bryson looks a lot older than most of us, but that's okay. He's a good-looking guy.
Bryson is to your immediate right.
Right, and Coach Fregia is to the right of him. So, yes, definitely a young staff for sure.
And tell me, Caden's dad, you had a connection to him at some point?
There's a lot of connections between me and Coach Fregia, but definitely I was very privileged to work with his dad, Chad Graves, who's now the head football coach at Palacios, Texas, and his uncle is someone that was our boss. He was our head football coach, who's now the athletic director for UIL, and that's Ray Cepeda. So there's definitely been a history with us, and it's just been somewhat like a family business, to be honest with you. We've known each other for a long time. I feel old because I definitely had the chance to be around Cade when he was a kid, and when he played for his dad at Natalia, and you start feeling older when they're your defensive coordinator, but you also remember carrying them. So it's definitely some real neat things between us and our families.
I was glad when Mike Meeks hired you and told me how old you were because there was a coach a little bit closer to my age. So
I always joke around about that, I always say I'm the young one of the four, but I know the reality.
No, you're the gray beard, but that's okay. That means you've lived a little bit of life. Kate, talk about working for Juan Rod and the fact that you have known him, sounds like pretty much all your life. What's it been like this year to kind of get up and close and personal as one of his coordinators?
Oh, yes, sir. That was the whole reason that I was drawn to Lubbock, really. I tell everyone I had that connection, and I knew Coach Rod. I knew what he was about and building the program and kind of the basics of a program and what he believed in, and that's something I knew I could back. And coming here, it's been really great. I've learned a lot this year. Tried to help out where I can, and I feel like we've got a lot of things going our way, and I think it's just a culmination of a lot of hard work overall.
I've gotten to know this guy pretty well. He hands you the keys too. He's not going to jump in. He's going to give you the keys and say, "Drive it."
No, for sure. Yes, sir. For sure. I'm very lucky though. I do have a great defensive staff around me. Those guys work really, really hard week in, week out on the weekends just to get our guys set up and in a position to be successful. So I'm really, really thankful for that too.
I'm trying to stretch this out because I don't want to jump into what happened last week when we come back from the break. We're coming up on a break. Bryson, what positions do you play? I want to make sure I'm putting you in the right place when I start talking to you.
I play outside linebacker, and I play a little bit of middle linebacker as well.
Okay. You show up in a lot of pictures that my photographers take for my website, you and Charlie. Find your way into pictures, which I'm guessing the defensive coordinator is pretty happy about because you two are supposed to be pretty heavily involved.
Yes, sir.
You're between two defensive-minded guys. What's that like to play for them?
It's great. We get perspectives from both of them, and both of them have great ideas. And Coach Fregia really he really says that we need to execute stuff. So, and we really put on doing that. So,
second year on varsity or third?
This is my third year on varsity.
I thought you've been around for a while.
Yes, sir, since my sophomore year.
This is a weekly thing we talk about. You guys that have been around with Coach Rod, Lubbock High starting to reap the benefits, which we're going to talk about after the break when we come back. The fact that Coach came in and kind of breathed some new life into the program, what's that been like for you as a young guy?
I loved it actually. Coach Fregia has done some great things, and we're doing new things that we didn't do last year and the years before, and I think it's great. I mean, it shows we're 3-1 this year. So,
Westerners are 3-1. I'll kind of pull the curtain back. 3-1 for the first time since 2001. Mm-hmm. They've won 3 games in a row for the first time since 1975, and they've got a 3-win season for the first time since 2012. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk much more about that when we come back. They are off this week. They catch their breath a little bit before they open district play on October 3rd when Tascosa comes to town. We'll come back and talk more on the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 FM.
Breaking down Lubbock High sports. This is the Westerner Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. Just to repeat what I said, Lubbock High is off this week. I don't like saying they're idle because I know you guys aren't idle. That's always a misused word during football season. Because Bryson, I'm going to guess you agree with me. You guys are not just taking this week off. You're
no, sir, not at all.
Still working hard.
Yes, sir.
Getting ready for district season, which they get to watch while everybody else kind of gets it started. And Juan, Judd and I talked about this last segment when he was in. Abilene High is probably the team that everybody's kind of chasing. But after that, your district doors are pretty wide open right now, and that includes you guys. Let's jump into what I wanted to talk about. I mentioned all the stuff I rattled off. You guys ended some droughts last week with that win, 31-13. Should have been 31-7 is what I heard the word on the street.
That's the rumor.
Against San Angelo Lakeview.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about it last week. I didn't want to be the jinx that messed anything up, but we can talk about it now. That's pretty cool. And I texted you Thursday night that I was enjoying writing that story because it's pretty cool when history happens. What was that like to be a part of that the other night? Because I watched you from the press box. You were juiced up. You were excited.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. It's surreal for the moment. And I'm just very blessed and very grateful. These guys that I've surrounded myself, great men and great young men, and having the support that I have from which I've mentioned before from our admin team, but my kids, you guys, you all get to see the lighter side of me and what I'm like. But my staff, they get to see the tougher part of me, and they get to see the expectations that I have for them, and that I have for the guys that I love to death, and I love them all. But it's hard to please me, and it's very difficult. And I'm very blessed to have the type of coaches that I have that love our kids. And it really wasn't just about me, but it was really a community win. It was for our campus, it was for our schools, for our kids. It was for everyone that was out there that night that participated in that event. It was for our cheer team, our pom team, our band, everybody that's associated with Lubbock High. It's really what the emotional part of it all was, is that we were able to do something, not just for us, but for everybody that was there that night. And it was special that I got to share it with the Lubbock High community, and got to share it with my staff, and more importantly with our kids that we coach.
And I talked to Malik and Zach after the game, and I want you to talk about this, Bryson. You guys, high school guys, are a lot more savvy than when Coach and I were growing up. You know when those things are out there, that you hadn't won 3 games in 49 years, and you haven't won 3 games in a season. What's it mean to you now that you guys have done that? Not only done it, but done it this early in a season where you've still got a lot of stuff you can accomplish the rest of this season.
Yes, sir. It shows a lot. I feel like we've grown a lot, especially since when I joined, varsity my sophomore year. We went 2-8, and then my junior year we went 2-8, and we're 3-1 right now. So considering we haven't won 3 games in years, I think it's a great start. And as they said, we have not played a full 4 quarters to our best, of our capability. So I feel like we still have a lot left to show.
Cade, you mentioned coming in and kind of getting used to the environment at Lubbock High and kind of learning the history. I don't want to say you're an outsider, you're a new insider, let's put it that way. What's it been like for you to witness this, to see these guys who have chased down something that had been so elusive for so long?
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's a great question. I think first off, it's really great to see kind of the hard work start paying off, and see our guys get that recognition. One thing we do, and we've been speaking on it lately, is don't let what we've accomplished hold you back from what you can go achieve. And that's the biggest thing, all the publicity and all the celebration. I personally think it can be a double-edged sword. That's my biggest fear is, with the season truthfully still just getting started, we don't want those guys to get complacent, and feel like we've done all that we wanted to do, and we certainly haven't reached our full potential, and we don't want them to feel like we've gotten there yet, if that makes sense.
It does, and Bryson hit a nail on the head there. You guys, you won the game. There's still some stuff you can get better at, but the thing that I liked about that game, Juan, is that you did a lot of things that are going to be pretty key components as we move forward. We're coming up on a break here, but I want to talk about just some different things you did in that game to get that win, because it wasn't as thorough as you might have liked, but it was a pretty convincing win. So we'll talk more about that when we come back on the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 FM.
Bringing you the latest news from Lubbock High Athletics. This is the Westerner Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 FM. I am Randy Rosetta. I'm going to run through the radio schedule one more time because folks want to know what's going on with their teams. Thursday night, Lubbock Cooper at home against Plainview on 100.7 FM. Friday night, Friendship at Midland Christian, Double T 97.3. Monterey against Amarillo High at Lowry Field, 93.7 The Eagle. Liberty Patriots play their first ever home game against Fort Stockton on 93.1 Yes FM. And Idalou and Shallowater get together, I think at Todd Field out in Shallowater on 97.7 FM. Juan, I didn't mention you guys because you're not playing this Friday, but you're still working because there's a lot of work left to do. And that's kind of cool to be saying that about a Lubbock High football team 4 weeks into the season. That game the other night, you guys did a lot of really good things. Your defense came up in key spots. Malik I thought Malik's play may have been where the game turned around when he got the interception and took it back. Another thing I thought, and we talked about this afterwards, is Zach had a rough week before, quarterback Zach Rainha. Mm-hmm. Threw an interception early, but then you could almost, from the press box, you could almost see his resolve kind of kick in. And I don't know if he got spoken to or he took that on himself, but I thought that was pretty big for you, for a quarterback with some experience, to kind of show what he could do to get you guys headed the right direction.
I think for us, it's just having those conversations with him after the week before, and having those conversations with him throughout the week, and making him understand the confidence that we have in him, his leadership, and what he can do. There's a lot of things Zach can do, and one of them is definitely run the ball. And he has a very accurate arm. He does a great job of throwing his timing is good. His routes are great. Thought our O-line did a fantastic job of protecting him once again. So definitely, I think he wasn't as nervous, as the week before. And he was just able to come back and just, get back on focus, get back on key, and just take care of the ball and do things that he knows that he can do and he's capable of doing.
When you can hand the ball to Braden Dunkerson, that makes a quarterback's job a little bit, and Zeph Barella, that makes a quarterback's job a little bit, makes a coach's job a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. When you got those two guys back there and you got the O-line that's playing really well, it makes play calling a lot easier, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you don't have to do things that you're normally not comfortable doing. So I think as we get ready for Tascosa, that's kind of getting the approach is, somebody asked me the other night, why 4 and 6? It's, the average of Duncanson is right above 6 yards a carry. So it's not, and the way that defense was playing that night, I just felt confident enough, they said they could do it, and they did. So I was really glad that they were able to step up to the plate, and the O-line says, coaches, let's go for it, and I made that decision, and it was a great play call, and definitely it paid dividends for us because we've been able to make those plays.
Well, I want you guys to talk about the defense because Lakeview came out and moved right down the field on that first series, and that can knock you on your heels a little bit, Bryson, when you're out there. But then you guys, all of a sudden, something kicked in. Malik's interception was big. Did you guys, between series, did you talk about let's make a play, or is that just something you have heard coaches say enough that you kind of knew it was time for somebody to do something?
There's a little bit of both. Malik, from the beginning, he's called it. He said he's going to get a pick this game. And Coach Fregia, we watch film and everything. He preaches out all the time, like, we got to execute. Like, he shows us all the time where to go and everything, our assignments. And he was just there. Like, we practice all the time, so he made a good play.
Cade, when your defense gives up that long drive, and Lakeview executed, to their credit, not to you guys' detriment, they executed. They did things they needed to do. You want to stay calm with your guys, but what do you remind them of after a series like that? Bryson's over there laughing. Maybe you didn't stay as calm as I'm giving you credit for. But what do you want to remind your guys of, what you've worked on all week coming into that your plan is still going to work?
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's 100% nailing it on the head right there. I think it speaks to the past 2 weeks. We've fallen behind early on. If you go back to Snyder, I think they scored the first 3 out of 4 drives. It was, I want to say, 18-0, 18-6 early in that game. And then same thing this week, first drive, they marched down the field. But I think that's the biggest difference that stands out to me from last year's team to this team is kind of the maturity, the ability to stay calm and keep going and, okay, well, let's dissect why did this not work, and it's allowed us to bounce back and finish the game.
And it allowed the Westerners to break a lot of long droughts the other night. The one that's most notable to me is winning 3 games in a row for the first time in 49. That's just incredible. They are going to get back to action October 3rd when Tascosa comes to town. That's a Thursday night at Lowry Field. It will be the Westerners' district opener. Tascosa gets their feet wet. This week they play Coronado, so there will be a little bit of video for Juan and his coaches to look at. This is Randy Rosetta. This has been the Westerner Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.